for us to do a very amazing video recording on how to use the Blender 2.8. So we go and open our application and we wait for it to load up. So while we're waiting for Blender to load up, I would just like to introduce what we're going to do today in Blender. We're going to make a simple model of a teacup, and we'll try to make it as nice and as simple as we can. So first of all, we need to know the height of the cup, we need to know the opening and the basement of the cup, we need to know the shape of the handle, how it looks like. So these things, we need to have them all in consideration before we have to bring out exactly how this cup will look like in the 3D application. I know most of the time, so we have the software opened like this, so whatever you want to do you can select from here, or we have over here the recent files and we have the new files over here. So you can start to design in general or to do some 2D animation or sculpting or VFX, or you go to video editing, and depends on what you really want to do, but I just prefer selecting the general, and it opens up to the user interface. So we just have to give a clue about how everything works in the Blender user interface, from the basics to the advanced level, but everything has a starting point. So as music starts from Do, letter starts from 1, alphabet starts from A, we will also like to talk about the little things that we can do in Blender. So over here, if you look at the top left hand corner, you will find the Blender logo, and after the Blender logo we have files, and here in the files you can add new files, you can open recent files here, you can revert, you can recover a lost file or last session or autosave, you can save a file, you can save as to save in different formats. We have save copy, you can save a copy of a file in the same way. You can also link some things, you can append, you can data preview, you can have different options popping up on the right hand side. We have import to import different formats, okay, and we have over here export, that's exporting what you've done in a Blender into a different application. Like maybe you're using Blender and then you're using the FX decoration somewhere, or blending or transition, and you have over here we have the quit button, and then you have the edit where you can do some frequent edit, and if you wish to change anything in the Blender, you can do this in the preference. So maybe you want to add some armature, you can run into the preference and check it up. We also have the rendering, that's rendering the final what you've designed. Like maybe you did some 3D effects and you want to render it in a video format or in a JPG format. So we have the windows to open different windows or to toggle amongst window or full screen. We have the help bar here, which is to give you tips and tutorials on how to use the Blender application from a Python API reference, and we have a developer community and so on. And we also have here the layout. Now the layout is looking at this user interface in a very beginner manner. We have the modeling where you can do some other effects. The layout is mostly to view nicely, and we have the modeling over here, we have the sculpting, we have the UV, that's ultraviolet editing, we have the text painting, we have shading, animation, rendering, compositing. So these are the various ways in which you can design yourself or develop something. Like maybe you want to do a 3D of like what we want to do, you can do this in the modeling, you can do it in the sculpt, you can do in UV editing, you can do in the texture painting, you can do in shading, and afterwards you do some animation depending on what you want. So we go with the basic layout. So we have the layout over here. while we're waiting for the application to load nicely, we just try to go through some few things. So as you can see, Blender is a software which facilitates and makes things easy for every single individual. Even if you are a beginner, you have no problem at all, because every beginner needs to learn, and for you to learn you need to do some research, you need to do some finding, watch some YouTube videos that will help you. So over here we have the windows, that we have the toolbar that gives you approximately everything you find on the toolbar up here. If you click this checkbox, you have a drop down menu that shows you every single thing you need to know. You have a graph editor, we have a timeline, we have a dope sheet, and all these viewpoints that you find here. This is a texture node editor, you can still find them over here. And we have the modes. So the mode is how you want to see your object, how you want to see what you're doing. We have the object mode, we have the edit mode, we have the sculpt mode, we have the vertex paint, we have a weight paint, we have a texture paint. These are the modes that are available that you can use. So, and over here we have the view, we have a select, we have art and object. So this is basically how it looks like. So if you want to rotate, let's say we have this cube over here and we want to see this other side of the cube, what do? There are two options. It is either you click on the hand here, this is to pan, this hand over here is to pan around the board. Clicking here, you see you can easily pan around. See, you can look something from a distance, then you bring your object back. Even if you're looking under the scale in the negative plane, you can still bring it back on the positive plane. And you can also toggle the camera over here. You can zoom. If you want to look on the y axis, you just need to click on the y axis and you see the y axis. So you see, we see the x axis and the z. So the y axis is directly proportional to our eyes over here, so you cannot see because it's shooting right into the cube. If you want to see the x axis only, you click on the x axis and you can see only the y and the z axis. So the same way which we explained about the x axis, the y axis is the same thing that is happening. So the x axis is shooting directly vertically into the cube, so you cannot see it. So you can find it by this point because we have the pointer over here. And if you go into the normal face, you can either use 4 or you use 6 to turn right, you use 4 to turn left, you use 8 to look up, you use 2 to look down, you use 7 to look at the topmost face, you use 3 to look at the left hand face, and 5 to toggle. 5 toggle between how you want the view to look like, switching among the views, between the views, sorry. And we have over here the select box, we have over here the cursor. So if you click the cursor, you can move this cursor around. So if I happen to click, I can move this cursor to this point. You see that? But no need to have that. I don't really need to move the cursor, let it be at the origin. And we have the move tool. With the move tool, you can easily click and move your object around. So if you click the move tool, you see there's an arrow to indicate where you want it to go. You want it to go up, you want it to go right or left. If you want to go up, you take the blue and you move up. Or still, in order to do this, you can just click G. You can press G on the number keyboard. So if you press G without going to the move tool, if you press G, it originally gives you the possibility of moving the object to any position. But if you have to press the move tool, then you can move the object only to a specific axis, either to the X axis or to the Y axis or to the Z. But if you have to press the G, you can move the object to any angle. and the software automatically calculates the angle where you place the object. Now if you see we move the object to this point and you look at the topmost left hand, you will see all the axes being labeled there. Now you see we have dx 0 meter, we have dy 3.67 meter, we have dz 1.29 meter. So now where is the z, where is the y, and where is the x? So the x is pointing directly into the plane, so we cannot see the x, and the y is moving upward from down to up, and the y is moving from left to right, the z is moving from down to up. So if you see, we've shifted this only just a few steps above. So when you go up, you see it's at 1.24, and y we move this way, it remains at 1.28, but we have 4 points. So the y increases this way and the z increases upward. The y increases to the left, the z increases upward. So at that point we let our subject come back to the origin, and you just click at once. Now if you have to move an object, like you click in the G, you select the object, press G on the keyboard, you move the object. If you are not pleased to where you want the object to be, you right click. When you right click, the object goes back to the origin. But if you have to move the object and left click, it stays where you put it, you see. So Ctrl Z to go back. Now we can easily work with our subject. Now we have a cube which we have here, and since we want to design something like a teacup, we do not basically need a cube, so we can delete this cube by just pressing